The fairy tale, the turnip. Once a grandfather planted a turnip and said, "Grow, sweet, sweet turnip, grow big, big." And all summer he cared for it and watered it. The sweet turnip grew and became bigger and bigger. Soon came harvest time, and the grandfather began to pull the turnip from the ground. He pulled and pulled, but he couldn't pull it out.
"Oh yes, turnip, you're such a turnip, how firmly anchored in the ground. One cannot cope with such beauty."
Then the grandfather called the grandmother for help. The grandma came out urgently and helped pull on the turnip. Grandma came. Grandma pulled on Grandpa. Grandpa pulled on the turnip. They pulled and pulled, but couldn't pull it out. Then the grandmother called her granddaughter to help. The granddaughter came over urgently to help pull on the turnip. The granddaughter came running, and the granddaughter pulled the grandmother. The grandmother pulled the grandfather, and the grandfather pulled the turnip. They pulled and pulled, but they couldn't pull it out. Then the grandfather called their dog Zucca to help. The dog came over urgently to help pull out the turnip. The dog came running, and the dog pulled on the granddaughter. The granddaughter pulled on the grandmother. The grandmother pulled on the grandfather, and the grandfather pulled on the turnip. They pulled and pulled, but they still couldn't pull it out. Okay guys, who did the grandmother call for help to pull out the turnip? The granddaughter or the cat? Correct! Her favorite granddaughter. Like our channel, press the bell, and don't miss anything. Then the dog Zucca called the cat Mirka for help. Mirka came over urgently and helped pull out the turnip. Mirka the cat came running. The cat then pulled the dog pulled the granddaughter pulled the grandmother pulled the grandfather, and the grandfather pulled the turnip. They pulled and pulled, but they couldn't pull it out. Then Mirka the cat called the mouse for help. The mouse came over urgently to help pull out the turnip. The mouse came running. Then the mouse pulled the cat pulled the dog pulled the granddaughter pulled the grandmother pulled the grandfather, and the grandfather pulled the turnip. They pulled and pulled, but they still couldn't pull out the turnip. Then the mouse squeaked.
Beep, beep, beep.
Well, with all respect, it's obviously not a simple turnip. Come on all together, we all need to try harder. And maybe this time everything will work out. There is enough for everyone, and even some left over.
The mouse pulled the cat pulled the dog pulled the granddaughter pulled the grandmother pulled the grandfather, and the grandfather pulled the turnip. And they pulled and pulled. Oh, it was stuck tight in the ground. They pulled and pulled, and finally pulled out the turnip. How much strength does a little mouse have? Very little indeed. But that was enough to help the others pull out the huge turnip from the ground. Often, help from the smallest figure is decisive in dealing with difficulties. Everything can be overcome if we all get together. Therefore, a strong family is a huge power. That is the end of the story. And to all who listened and watched, well done.